Hello, everybody out there. My name is Stephen Manuel. I'm a high school Spanish teacher in Durham County, North Carolina. Today, I'll be talking about summative assessment. What is summative assessment? Summative assessment is assessment after instruction is finished with the purpose of documenting student performance, also called formal assessment, according to Santrop. Some additional resources and research that I use was a couple articles, one entitled What is Summative Assessment? Basically, an in-depth overview of what summative assessment is, 9 examples of summative assessment, gives us other forms of summative assessment that we can use to replace the traditional standardized tests, and also summative assessment in distant learning, which talks about strategic decisions about what is need to know and what is nice to know. Also, a video of summative assessment that gives us overview of what summative assessment is and a lot of examples. And then, of course, a graphic of summative versus formative assessment, because formative assessment is closely related to summative assessment, but there are some major differences that we have to be aware of when we are talking about the two. Because normally we focus more on the summative assessments when it comes to learning and deciding when we move to the next level, but formative assessments are something that we should use and focus a lot to determine how a student is learning. So according to Santrop, summative assessment provides information about how well your students have mastered the material, whether the students are ready for the next unit, what grades they should be given, what comments you should make to parents, and how you should adapt your instruction. Students should be given ample time and opportunity to prepare these assessments. And like I said before, summative assessments are closely related to formative assessments, but seem to take more precedence in the American education classroom. So, what do I mean? Both are ways to assess. They both need to use, um, or they both need to be used to evaluate a student effectively. Both can be used for student feedback and also assist in future lesson planning. But the major difference is that with formative assessments, it's part of the instructional process, and summative assessment is used to determine at a particular point in time what students know and do not know. So some characteristics of summative assessment would include it occurring at the end of a chapter or unit, it evaluating what students learn, it covering complete content areas, it assigning a grade to a student's understanding, and emphasizing the product of student learning. For instance, does the student's grade exceed the class standard or pass according to a district's benchmark? Some disadvantages of summative assessments could include offering minimum room for creativity, not accurately reflecting learning, ignoring timely learning needs, result lack of motivation, being inauthentic, or even being biased. But some importances of summative assessment could also be motivating students to study and pay closer attention to what's being taught. Also allowing students to apply what they've learned. It helps identify gaps in student learning, also helps identify gaps in teaching. Um, it gives teachers valuable insights of their students, and it also contributes positively to learning outcomes. So, a couple of examples that would be considered summative assessments would be unit tests, end of year projects, achievement tests, or even standardized tests like the ACT or the SAT. Now, what I have to the right is a video of a end of the year project of a student who did a project on phenotypes. Now, this is a different type of summative assessment, but it does the same job. It's different from what students are accustomed to as far as using those standardized tests, but it does accurately allow the student to be creative so they can relate the information that they retain during the course of the class. So a couple of takeaways would be that summative assessment is a common tool used by teachers and administrators that determine graduation from one level of school to the next and also entry into college. Summative assessment can deliver objective data to support a teacher's professional judgment to make classroom decisions and acquiring the proper information for adjustments in curriculum and instruction. Summative assessments do not help individual student performance, but demonstrate what students know or does not know. So, one lingering question that I have is, can summative assessments be an effective tool to determine how much knowledge a student knows about a subject or topic? And I leave that question with you all just because we know that a lot of students may lose interest in a topic, or they may know how to perform better about a topic versus what they may present on an actual standardized test. So that's why it's good for us to be able to identify the information that we record from our summative assessments. Here are my resources. Once again, I'm Stephen Manuel. Thank you for listening y nos vemos.